Well, man, I don't know what to tell y'all. It was just bad top to bottom. Even Cameron Curl had a couple of bad plays. I mean, overall, he had a good game, but I mean, it just seemed like everybody was making mistakes out there. Honestly, my main takeaway from this game is that we really beat ourselves, and then it's going to be ugly looking forward to the rest of the schedule. Of course, I'm going to dive into everything. I'm going to go position group by position group. I'm going to do my overarching themes of the game, my takeaways from the game. But before we dive into all of that, make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the bell next to the subscription button so you get a notification immediately. And every time I release an informative and heavily opinionated video just like this one. Also, make sure you check out the rest of the channel and make sure you pull up for the post-game live stream I'm doing by like 5:30, 6 p.m. where y'all call in and let y'all emotions out. You basically do your post-game review. I'm just hosting and moderating, so make sure y'all pull up. I'm about to upload this video after I'm done editing it, and then we're getting to the post-game live stream where y'all call in. Without further ado, man, let's get it. Alright, so first of all, we got to start with the head honcho himself, Taylor Heinicke. I mean, he made a lot of mistakes this game, and I saw people saying, like, you know, y'all are bad fans for giving up on him after one bad game. But honestly, to me, if you really analyze this game wasn't that much worse than the Bills game or even the Falcons game or the Giants game. It wasn't that much worse. It was the same typical Heinicke, a little bit more bad, but, you know, you typical Heinicke game, the good, the bad, the lucky. Today, he didn't get much lucky, and you got plenty of good and plenty of bad, just like a lot of those other games. Taylor Heinicke, even in the good games he had against the Giants and Falcons, where we won, he misses receivers open down the field. He did that even in wins. He did that a lot today. He'll throw it to like a guy running an 8-yard route. He has DeAndre Carter or Dax Milne, Adam Humphries, somebody deep down the field for a 40-yard touchdown, and we end up either not getting points or only getting a field goal in that same drive. Of course, his lack of arm strength showed a lot today. It showed in spurts other games, and people keep saying it's not that bad, but today you can see why it was that bad. And that's why I keep saying Taylor Heinicke has to know something's gonna happen before it happens, because he doesn't have the arm strength to see it and then zip it there in time. He has to know a receiver's gonna be open before he's open. There were the bad decisions, throwing it into bad coverage, throwing it late, staring down receivers. Everything he did today, he's done every game this season. He just didn't pay for it as much against the Giants and the Falcons. And again, he was worse today, but it's not like this big gap like this is Heinicke's first bad game. Because technically, if you call this a bad game, technically all of his games have been bad. To me, this wasn't necessarily a bad game. This was just a Taylor Heinicke game, and the Saints just made him pay for it more. They had a better corner in Marshawn Lattimore to make him pay. And to me, Terry McLaurin was winning that matchup against Marshawn Lattimore the first 2.5 quarters, maybe 3. But once we got to the fourth quarter, Marshawn was actually for real locking down Terry McLaurin. I feel like Terry McLaurin won the matchup overall. It's just that Taylor Heinicke wasn't able to get him the ball, even the plays he was open, because he overthrew him a couple of times, even some plays. But Marshawn Lattimore locked down at the end, and it mattered, because then Taylor Heinicke was forced to throw at the other guys. He wasn't able to, and then when he kept forcing it to Terry McLaurin, I'm not as mad at him forcing it to Terry McLaurin like a lot of people are, because my biggest complaint last year with Alex Smith, Dwayne Haskins, Kyle Allen was, if you're gonna make a mistake, if you're gonna throw it into triple coverage, at least let it be to your best player. I was so upset last year with Kyle Allen, Dwayne Haskins, Alex Smith would throw an interception and it would be Dontrell Inman triple covered. I'm like, why him? At least if you're gonna make a mistake, let it be Terry McLaurin. So at the very least, Taylor Heinicke did that. So I'm not gonna super fault him for that. But at the end of the day, you have to play the quarterback position better. You have to, you know, if Terry McLaurin is well covered by Marshawn Lattimore, look at the other side of the field and get it to them. But that's where that habit of staring down receivers comes up. I know for at least one interception, he literally telegraphed where he was throwing the ball the whole time he was in the pocket, like a full 5 seconds, just staring at the guy. It may have been Terry McLaurin, I can't remember, but it was to the left sideline, like later in the game. He just, and staring down the receiver through it, of course it got intercepted. They're reading your eyes. They're not reading the receiver. So again, Taylor Heinicke, this game was probably his worst game, but it's not like there's this huge difference from what he did against the Falcons and Giants to this game. This game, he just made the same mistakes more often, a little bit more often, not even like a lot more often, and the Saints made us pay for it. And then moving on, I guess we should go to Scott Turner, because, I mean, he had like a couple of spurts of really good play call, but overall, that was a bad play call game. Now, again, just like how games typically go, Scott Turner didn't have a great play calling day, but he wasn't as bad as Jack Del Rio. That's how that went today. But again, he had some really good play calls, especially one of those drives where we marched down the field. A couple of those drives we marched down the field. Those end arounds with DeAndre Carter running the ball with Antonio Gibson. Should have been doing that since the very beginning of the game. I mean, one drive we were marching down the field, and then we got into like the 30-yard line, and he decided to pass the ball on first, second, and third down. Now it's fourth and long. Why do we stop ourselves from running the ball? No other team stops us from running the ball. Scott Turner right now is playing the best defense against our run right now than any defense we played against. He's stopping the run better than our opponents are so far, and that's one of my biggest gripes with. That's one of my biggest. Now, today we definitely missed Logan Thomas. The injuries mattered. De'Ami Brown would have helped, even though Adam Humphries, Dax Milne, and DeAndre Carter were definitely doing their thing. But when we got to the red zone, Logan Thomas mattered over Ricky Seals-Jones. It definitely did. Blocking, that one play where Antonio Gibson, we should have got a touchdown. Ricky Seals-Jones ran into Antonio Gibson and tackled him himself, and then that should have been a touchdown. We ended up only getting a field goal, and that would have changed the whole game. If it were, we lost 33-22. If it were 33-25, that's a completely different game. And even at that moment, the Saints still hadn't scored yet. It wasn't even 33-22 yet. So it was a domino effect of just not having Logan Thomas really mattered. Not having Brandon Sheriff mattered a little, but Wes Schweitzer stepped up big. Not having Samuel Cosmi mattered a little, but Cornelius Lucas stepped up big, and I really hope Samuel Cosmi's okay. But at the end of the day, Logan Thomas not being there was probably the biggest difference in this game as far as guys that weren't able to play today. Even more than Brandon Sheriff. I mean, it showed blocking and receiving wise. Logan Thomas is our top red zone target, period. Even including Terry McLaurin, Logan Thomas is our best red zone target. He's not there, and it shows. Taylor Heinicke's doing what he has to do to try to make up for that. Again, back to Scott Turner. Nobody can stop our run game. You decided to stop it yourself. You saw it on that one drive. Jared Patterson was out there making plays. Antonio Gibson was out there making guys miss getting first downs. They literally couldn't stop us that drive, and then we just stopped doing it. And we should have started it sooner. I don't know why we were just isolated to running the ball heavy for like 2 drives in a row. But before that and after that, we just gave up on it. I don't understand. Then Jack Del Rio, of course, the play calling there. I mean, even just the first touchdown, you can nitpick so much about this game with Jack Del Rio, and I would be very surprised if Jack Del Rio is not fired by the end of the season, because it's only getting worse. And the reason I say it's only getting worse, because it's the same mistakes. It'd be different if it was a different mistake each week, but it's the same mistakes. And if you keep making the same mistakes each week, that mistake seems way worse, because it's like, how have you not fixed this over these past few weeks? But that first touchdown that the Saints got, where it was LandonCollins in the box, Bobby McCain up top, and then as the play was being called, Jack Del Rio, the genius himself, brought Bobby McCain into the box and sent LandonCollins deep. Like he's just trying to confuse the offense. Like he's just this wizard. Like now Jameis Winston is about to be like, oh no, LandonCollins back deep. I can't throw it deep. It's just like, it's just stupid. All of our stuff, all of our mistakes are stupid. Overall, one of my main themes from this game and this season so far is that we are not devoid of talent. We're not the Texans. We're not the Jaguars, where they literally just don't have the bodies. We have the bodies. The coaching staff is just not putting them in the right places to succeed. They're not calling the right plays. Again, prime example, the first Saints touchdown. LandonCollins back deep. Bobby McCain in the box. Bobby McCain is not a great tackler. LandonCollins is easily one of the worst coverage safeties, at least on our team. Because even Jamal Adams, I was saying it during the live stream when it happened, Jamal Adams was getting cooked deep against the Rams on Thursday Night Football. And there's a reason Jamal Adams is a top 5 safety in the NFL, and it's not for his deep coverage ability. Don't even put them in that situation. Jack Del Rio, why is LandonCollins back deep going against an electric receiver for the Saints? I just don't understand. Ron Rivera, I mean, there's nothing exactly to blame on you, because there was no time management situations. There were no plays you should have challenged. There were no timeouts you should have called, should not have called, things like that. It's really just team management. At this point, you got to look at Jack Del Rio like, hey, the more we suck because of you, it's on me now. So Ron Rivera is starting to become your fault because you're not fixing the problem. Even though you're not technically the problem, you're becoming the problem by not fixing the problem right now, for real. And so going back to the offensive line, gave up a couple of plays, but overall, they were our best position group today, easily, by far. Running backs, Antonio Gibson, J.D. McKissic wasn't used much, and then when he was thrown to, he was dropping some of the passes, but it was just really good coverage. I don't know why we didn't get J.D. McKissic involved sooner, Scott Turner. But Jared Patterson, J.D. McKissic, Antonio Gibson played pretty well today. Antonio Gibson and Jared Patterson ran very well today. I don't have no complaints from Antonio Gibson as far as running the ball today, especially again behind that offensive line that played very well today as well. And then the receivers, overall, everybody stepped up. We wanted them to step up in place of De'Ami Brown and Cam Sims not being there, and generally they did step up. Taylor Heinicke was just missing them, throwing them late, not seeing them when they were open down the field for a touchdown several times in just this one game alone. Again, he's been doing it all year. He did it against the Giants. He did it against the Falcons. Even though those games, he looked really good and we won those games, he has been consistently staring down receivers, throwing the pass late, and missing open receivers for a bigger play all season. It's just this game, it really showed because we paid for it. And the announcers actually pointed it out. Sometimes the announcers haven't pointed it out, like the commentators, but today they like literally showed in the replay, oh, Taylor Heinicke had this guy deep down the field, and now suddenly people are just now realizing that Taylor Heinicke has always had a habit of missing guys open down the field for a shorter route in front of him. And yeah, offensively, I mean, just overall, just so many missed opportunities. So many of those drives where we ended up getting field goals should have been touchdowns. Then to defense, this was actually the defensive line's best day so far this season. Matt Ioannidis looked really good. Deron Payne looked really good. Our best defensive player, Jonathan Allen, didn't have a great game, but he wasn't terrible. And Chase Young finally looked like something today. That strip sack was his first sack and his first forced fumble this season. And he had some more pressures to go along with that, where he hurried Jameis Winston and forced him to make bad throws even throughout the game. So this was just a really good game from the defensive line, but it didn't matter because the linebackers were bad. Cole Holcomb, I'm gonna have to look at the all 22. I don't remember him being terrible. It's just like, what can you do with Cole Holcomb covering Alvin Kamara man on man? Of course, Alvin Kamara is going to beat him. Luckily for us, Alvin Kamara dropped the easy pass. Might have been a touchdown. Who knows? But like, I can't blame Cole Holcomb for that. My biggest mystery is, why was Jamin Davis not on the field that much? Like, he just literally wasn't. We had Khaleke Hudson on the field in place of Jamin Davis. Not like Khaleke Hudson was on the field and we're like, yay, Khaleke Hudson's getting some playing time and Jamin Davis is there with them, so we're getting to see our young linebackers. No, it was literally Jamin Davis benched for Khaleke Hudson. There were some plays even late in the game, David Mayo was in the game over Jamin Davis. That is ridiculous. Your 19th overall pick, is he really that bad? I got to go back and look at the all 22 to see how bad he was. I know for a fact that one Alvin Kamara run where he ran it up the middle for a touchdown when they were in the red zone, that was Jamin Davis's fault. He guessed early, he guessed wrong, he was in the wrong gap. That should have been him there instead of Bobby McCain. He should have been there before Bobby McCain, and then you saw Alvin Kamara break that easy tackle against Bobby McCain. That was just a poor effort really from him, and got the touchdown. That should have been Jamin Davis right there. He hopped from one gap to the other trying to guess. He guessed wrong. He thought Alvin Kamara was going to go outside. He went inside, completely out of place, and then you barely saw Jamin Davis since that play. But I'm about to look at the all 22 footage to see if Jamin Davis is really that bad and if there were more terrible examples other than just that play. So Jamin Davis technically got benched today. Speaking of somebody that should have been benched, Dusty Hopkins actually played a really good game today. He made every kick we asked him to, every PAT. The only thing that worries me is that this is one of those games where Dusty Hopkins makes every kick. We didn't ask him to do any rigorous kicks, any 55-yarders, and now we're going to move forward justifying why we still have Dusty Hopkins on the roster. This is just one of those games where it's like, okay, you reset it. You know, you're good for another week or two on this team. But honestly, if he ends up having that terrible game again, we're going to want him gone again. And then he's going to have a game like this, and then we're going to excuse him again. It's just going to be a constant cycle of him letting us down eventually. So at the end of the day, I still kind of want to move on from Dusty Hopkins. But Ron Rivera has a good point. When you look at the rest of the people who are available, there's not too many better options. That's literally what he said in the press conference this week. It's like, we've thought about it, but who do we get in place of Dusty Hopkins? And that's a good point. I feel like they need to do a better job of looking, because there has to be somebody. But if that's really the case, then, you know, we just have to stick with Dusty Hopkins until at least the end of the season probably. But going back to defense, the linebackers, overall a bad day, but I feel like Cole Holcomb, even though he didn't necessarily make great plays, he didn't also allow a bunch of them, but I guess I gotta see. Oh, yep, and I just saw it just now. Jamin Davis only played 13 snaps today. Like, that's benched. Maybe he was hurt. And also, as an update, Ron Rivera in his press conference seems very upset about the defense, but he's not upset with Taylor Heinicke. And again, for the reasons I've already said, this is the Taylor Heinicke you already know you're going to get game to game. This performance, again, wasn't that much worse than even the games he had against the Giants and the Falcons. It wasn't like a huge difference that a lot of people think it was. He's been making a lot of the same mistakes. We just haven't paid for it as dearly like we did today. And this Packers-Bengals game, these missed kicks, and then he finally makes that one. I'm so confused. And then the secondary, bruh. I mean, Benjamin St-Juste literally looks like our best corner right now. I mean, you could tell by the fact that quarterbacks don't even really throw it to him anymore. Ever since that Chargers game, and then a little bit in that Giants game, quarterbacks don't even really try him anymore. Unless it's zone coverage, then they will. But if it's man coverage, Jameis Winston targeted Benjamin St-Juste one time, and then he had that amazing breakup, and Jameis Winston was like, nope, not throwing it to him no more. Nope. And we clearly needed Benjamin St-Juste against the Falcons so that Torrey McTyer wouldn't have made those mistakes. But get well soon, Torrey McTyer, for sure. But Benjamin St-Juste is honestly our best corner right now. William Jackson is super up and down. He makes a great play, then allows an easy play, and it's just like, that doesn't even look like the same guy in the same game. And then Kendall Fuller finally made 2 back-to-back really good coverage plays, and then he gave up a really big one where he just was not even really close to the receiver. But overall, this wasn't Kendall Fuller's worst game this season at all. But then the safety situation and Jack Del Rio getting people in the right position was horrible. It was just terrible. And then the fact that we just couldn't stop Alvin Kamara in the screen game, in the run game, no matter what, wheel routes, whatever they wanted to give Alvin Kamara, he got it. It was just up to him to drop the pass. And that's really what bailed us out sometimes, because Alvin Kamara should have had an even bigger game than he did. But luckily for us, he dropped the passes. We still ended up losing. So really not even luckily for us. But at the end of the day, if I had to say my people I blame the most, I mean, I guess you can kind of include Taylor Heinicke, but he's definitely not the top of the list for the same reason I've already given you. This game was not that much worse than even his Giants or Falcons game. If you really look at the film, same mistakes, just did it a little bit more often. And we paid for it more with interceptions rather than corners dropping the interceptions like they did against the Falcons and Giants. Then also, of course, play calling on both sides of the ball. Offensive coordinator, defensive coordinator, terrible. Mainly on the defensive coordinator side, because this was the best game we've gotten from our defensive line all season, and it just seemed like it didn't matter. We constantly got pressure on Jameis Winston, but the secondary just couldn't cover long enough for it to matter. It seemed like we were a step or two away from sacking Jameis Winston quite a bit, but receivers were open so quickly. Why wait those extra second or 2 seconds to get sacked when you could just go ahead and release it right now for a 30-yard touchdown? And it just seemed like we had no answer for Alvin Kamara. Alvin Kamara was wide open some plays, like just literally like unaccounted for. And that was my biggest gripe. Even watching the Packers game, I'm like, how's Devontae Adams wide open? That's the main guy that they want to get the ball to. Looking at the Bengals game against the Packers, how is Jamar Chase open out of anybody? How do you not have safety help? And then I'm looking at our team wondering the same thing. How is Alvin Kamara wide open? How is Marquez Callaway, literally the #1 receiver with everybody else hurt, Michael Thomas out and all of that, is he just wide open in the flat for an easy touchdown, like literally just unaccounted for? Like, if anything, you make sure you cover him, let somebody else be open, figure it out after that. But there's no reason on any given play that the best player on the other team is just wide open, unaccounted for. That's literally just makes no sense. I'm gonna blame coaching and players for that, but definitely more so coaching. And then also, again, the linebacker play wasn't good today. It wasn't horrible. I wouldn't say it was necessarily worse than the secondary, but it was still pretty bad. Defensive line was probably, but I guess the best way to put it, our top 3 position groups today were definitely, I would probably extend it to 4, because I would put receivers at 4. I'll put offensive line 1, defensive line 2, and then Tressway was a dog. Also, that Saints kicker, like, yo, he literally killed 3 drives for us. Literally single-handedly took away 3 offensive drives. He won that game for them as well. Without him being just the best punter ever, that's a completely different game. We probably win that game if they don't. Even with all of the mistakes we made on offense and defense, without him making plays like that in special teams, and DeAndre Carter, one play, it was good for him to let it go, even though it still got recovered at the 1. It was smart to let that one go. But like the other 2, he should have caught him. But yeah, that punter was going stupid. But again, I feel like the position group that actually did play well today, definitely defensive line, offensive line in no order, wide receiver, because they played pretty well. They were getting open most of the time, and running backs. Even though in the passing game, they weren't very effective. J.D. McKissic getting locked up, dropping passes and stuff like that. The running backs did their job. Whenever they were asked to run the ball, they ran the ball well. Antonio Gibson wasn't doing all of that stutter stepping and missing the easy hole that he should have gone through. He hit all of the holes he should have went through, and even when it should have only been a 2-yard gain, he broke tackles and made it a 10+ yard gain. So the running backs, receivers, offensive line, and defensive line were really the only reason this game was even this close, honestly. None of them were perfect, and I wouldn't even say none of them played exceptionally great. Maybe the offensive line is like the closest thing to great. But overall, everybody, all those 4 position groups played well today, and I'm proud of them. Everybody else just got to catch up. Everybody has to step up. Again, and even like if you think about tight ends, if we had Logan Thomas, that would have been way better. You can blame Ricky Seals-Jones for a couple of those plays, but honestly, a lot of those mistakes were more so on Taylor Heinicke and play calling than anything else. And also, penalties killed us. I mean, you could play some of that on Ron Rivera, but that's also just on the players. A lot of our penalties were just stupid, like holding. That's not even necessarily a mental mistake. That's just getting beat, and they had to hold on so that the play didn't become even worse. We just got to be better. We just got to play better. So penalties hurt us a lot. But even though I do feel like penalties hurt the Saints more than it hurt us, honestly, because we had 5 penalties for 37 yards. They had 6 penalties for 45. And that one penalty where they ran into Tressway, and shouts out to Tressway for that, MVP of the game, because like he kind of made that a run into the kicker thing. Like the way he made it so that that he couldn't block it and he got it off to the side of him. Like he's the reason that drive even continued. But that penalty hurt the Saints more than probably any penalty hurt us, honestly. And the refs didn't hate us this game, finally. That one call that ended up standing, where they said it was a catch, I don't think that was a catch, but the refs gave us one. Finally a game where the refs didn't hate. And also, big time, finally a game our defense didn't allow the opposing team to get whatever third down they wanted. The Saints were only 4 of 11 on third downs. That's by far the best our defense has been all year. Easily, not even close. But at the end of the day, they still allowed another team to score 30 plus points. And then on offense, we were 5 of 16, which is not good. Gotta be way better. But I feel like what will help with that is if we run the ball on 1st and 10, because a team can't stop us from running, but we throw the ball on 2nd and 10. Now you feel the need to throw it on 2nd and 10. Now we're 3rd and 10. And now we're behind the sticks, and now you're dealing with 3rd and longs. That's why we went 5 for 16. Scott Turner. But I'm really surprised that our defense ended up actually playing well on 3rd downs today. We didn't allow them to convert 3rd and 15s. Today was the first day all season where we just didn't allow the opposing offense to get whatever 3rd downs they wanted. So I'm proud of the defense for that. It didn't equal a win, though, sadly. We just gave up too many big plays. Deep shots, big plays to Alvin Kamara. It just, man. And then we won the time of possession battle easily. 36 minutes to their 23, and we lost? That is crazy. That literally makes no sense. We're equal in turnovers. We had 2 interceptions to their 1 interception and 1 fumble, 2 turnovers each. And we won the time of possession battle 36 minutes to 23 minutes. If you look at that, you would just assume we won. We had 131 rushing yards to their 98. We had 242 passing yards to their 271. We were literally even in all important statistical categories or better than them in most of them. And we still lost. And that's where you got to look at all of the individual mistakes and coaching blunders. Again, back to my overall theme that I was starting to talk about in the intro. We beat ourselves, a lot of it. The Saints are a really good team and they made a lot of plays, but at the end of the day, most of the reason we lost this game were mental mistakes. Coaching, players, all of it. Just mental mistakes, dumb. We just look stupid. Again, we're not devoid of talent. We are not the Texans. We are not the Jaguars, where we literally just don't have the guys. We don't have the bodies. There's nothing you can do. We have the talent. We have the guys. We have the speed. We have the athleticism. We have the length. We're just not using it correctly. And then even if Jack Del Rio puts everybody in the right position, some player just messes up the coverage, miscommunication, or just completely misses it and stuff like that. So it's players and coaches. It's more coaches than players, but it's still on the players as well. It's all of the blame is not on Jack Del Rio, even though most of it is. And then also back to my main point, again, we're talented. We're not the Jaguars or the Texans. So at the end of the day, when you look at the rest of the schedule, where we have to play the Chiefs, Packers, Broncos bye week, Buccaneers, Panthers, Seahawks, Raiders, Cowboys twice, Eagles twice, and the Giants again. If we play how we've played these last 5 weeks, including the wins we got against the Giants and the Falcons, I honestly cannot look at the schedule and tell you definitively who we're going to beat. Not even the Eagles or the Giants, really. But with the talent that we have, that's the reason I'm optimistic, because all we have to do is play up to our talent, and our defensive line finally showed something. Our third down defense finally showed something, and we were able to move the ball almost at will, other than Scott Turner and Taylor Heinicke, both of them just making mistakes. So it's like the talent is there, and you see it at spurts where it's like, yeah, we are the more talented team. We are better than our record says, but overall as a whole, as a performance, we just don't go out there and do it consistently from first quarter through fourth quarter. We just don't do it. We just have spurts where we look like, oh, okay, if we play defense like this, we play offense like this, we may be able to beat the Broncos and the Packers, maybe the Chiefs, but we don't do it for a full 4 quarters. And that's why when you look at the schedule, you're like, honestly, who can we beat? I mean, for real, even as optimistic as I am, if we play how we played these last 5 weeks, for the rest of the schedule, we're probably not winning another game, like, to be completely honest. But I don't think we will. I don't think we're going to be this bad because, again, we've seen improvement in the defensive line. We've seen improvement on third down. And you could probably say this was Taylor Heinicke's worst day, even though, again, I keep telling y'all, this wasn't like this was much worse than any other day. But this probably was the game that he made the most mistakes. And you just don't expect him to make that many mistakes that often in one game. So, like, there's reasons to see how this team can be better, can play better. They just got to go out there and do it. I'm optimistic about them playing better. I'm not optimistic about us necessarily winning the division, but I don't see, I mean, when you look at the schedule, I don't see us literally not winning another game. We're going to beat some of these teams we're not supposed to beat, but that's all up to us playing better. Will we play better? I don't know. Again, we have the talent to do it, but we just got to see in these upcoming weeks. But yeah, man, that's the end of this video. Please get in the comment section. Let me know how you feel about everything discussed in this video. Please like this video if you liked it, if you learned anything. Also, please subscribe if you haven't. I'm coming with the post-game live stream soon after this video uploads, man. I really appreciate y'all. I appreciate everybody that pulled up to the chat for the live stream watching the game with me. Really appreciate y'all big time, man. I appreciate everybody that pulled up, left a like before they left the stream. Everybody that donated, man, really appreciate y'all. Shouts out to all of my sponsors, especially my Pro Bowl sponsors, whose name you see scrolling on the screen right now, and the new ones that became Pro Bowl sponsors today. I really appreciate y'all. And my one All-Pro sponsor, Jada, man, I really appreciate everybody, man. Big time. Catch y'all later. I'm out.